Greetings, 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 everyone. Hey there. Yes, we are going live in about 9.
Everyone. Hey
Ooh,
there.
let me turn that down.
Yes.
So we are going to be starting at 8 o'clock. So I wanted to log in a little earlier just to make sure all my things are going to work for me. So you all come in, join in, share this on your page, share it to your groups, to your page. We're going to be talking about getting started homeschooling in South Carolina under option 3. Okay. So this is very exciting because I'm doing something I haven't done in a long time, and that's go live on Facebook. So you all, we're going to start in just a little bit. So if you are catching this, we will officially start at 8 o'clock. For those who will see the replay, thanks for joining in even after the fact of this workshop. And we're going to get started. So hold still, hold tight, come on in, and we'll be getting started soon. Yep. So all of you, again, this is Angela Fafali Nyarko, and I am the owner and director of an Option 3 Accountability Association here in the state of South Carolina, which is a United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. And this is my 10th year. So I'll tell you more about myself, my homeschool journey. This workshop will be about 30 minutes. That's the plan, 30 minutes, and then time for a Q&A. This is, the workshop title is Embrace Your Child's Educational Future, Exploring Option 3 Homeschooling in South Carolina. The plan is to start exactly at 8 o'clock, so you have time to share this with others on your page, on your personal Facebook page as well, and hear about getting started on your journey of homeschooling in South Carolina. So I'm looking forward to this and an engaging time, lots of Q&A as people come in. This will be on the website at www.auchu.org. It'll also be on the YouTube at United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited, as well as a United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. Okay, did I say that completely? So 2 YouTube channels, United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited, and then also a United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. It'll be in both places. Okay, so we'll be starting just Okay, here we are. We have 4 more minutes before we start our workshop, which is going to be at 8 o'clock, starting exactly on the dot. This workshop is Embrace Your Child's Educational Future, Exploring Option 3 Homeschooling in South Carolina. So you all come on in, share on your pages, your Facebook page, share wherever you think people would need to hear about homeschooling in South Carolina. Join in. It's going to be a 30-minute workshop, then with some Q&A for those who have questions. This will be also on the website at auchu.org. Okay. auchu.org, and also on the YouTube channels, A United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited, and then also United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. All right, so we have about 3 more minutes. I got in here. Any technical issues were there, they are gone now, so it looks good. It looks good. We're going to be starting shortly, so hold tight, come in. Get a pen and paper available so that you can take notes as you have questions, okay? All right, well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to this workshop. This is Embrace Your Child's Educational Future, Exploring Option 3 Homeschooling in South Carolina. So let me let you know that this is going to be a 30-minute workshop, straight, direct, to the point. I have a slide presentation, and at the end, there'll be a Q&A. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to make this happen. All right. All right, well, here we are. Oops, let me get to the right spot. Let me get to the beginning, and then we'll start, okay? There we are. 8 o'clock on the dot. Here we are. Okay, beautiful. Okay, well, this is our workshop for in regards to homeschooling in South Carolina. The title of this is Embrace Your Child's Educational Future, Exploring Option 3 Homeschooling in South Carolina. And I am Angela Fafali Nyarko. I am the Option 3 Director and owner for A United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited, just as you see on the screen here, okay? So I am going to take us through this journey of understanding how to get started in homeschooling. And at the end, as you have questions, be ready to ask them, type them in the Facebook page or on the screen here in our chat if you're joining in by Zoom, okay? So welcome, homeschooling adventurers. Just get ready to embark on this homeschooling journey, this extraordinary journey that will unlock your child's full potential academically, in which you have that control. So imagine a world where your child has the freedom to learn as their interests increase and just learn how to love learning, okay? So today we're going to deep into this mesmerizing topic, a topic many people don't have a clear understanding on, of homeschooling. Exactly what is this homeschooling, and what does it look like to homeschool in South Carolina under option 3? Okay. All right. All right, here it is. That's our introduction. So again, welcome to this workshop, and we're going to dive right into our topic. So number 2, understanding option 3, homeschooling. Under option 3, homeschooling, you have freedom, flexibility, and no rigid classrooms, okay? So option 3, homeschooling, is just like a symphony of freedom. That's what I think about. It's freedom, just allowing you to compose your child's education with passion and creativity, okay? Flexibility is the secret sauce to option 3, homeschooling. So granting you the power to tailor, create, shape the learning experience that's going to benefit your child. Every child learns different, and we have to appreciate that and embrace that, understanding that every child learns different. There's no cookie cutting, way, no set way in which every child has to learn this way at the same pace, on the same subject, at the same time. No. Homeschooling allows for that flexibility. So you get to say goodbye to the rigid classroom idea in which many of us are accustomed to. You get to say goodbye to that structure and the societal standards that has been set up, in which we, again, as I mentioned, are accustomed to. One teacher, a classroom, a desk, a blackboard or whiteboard, someone in the front of the classroom teaching, and the child is getting information and regurgitating information. So we're going to talk very clearly on what option 3 looks like. But I want you to know, keep in mind these things: freedom, flexibility, and no rigid classrooms. Okay, no rigid classroom. Number 3, planning your homeschooling journey. So let's talk about some specifics here, all right? You get to decide in your homeschooling journey the resources in which you desire to use. You get to create a schooling schedule, and you get to decide what your day, your child's school day, can look like. So let's talk about choosing your resources. Under option 3, and again, I'm going to break down option 3 in just a moment, but I want to paint this picture first, okay? Choosing your resources in which you would like to utilize in educating your child. You have that freedom to do so under option 3, homeschooling. You get to choose which curriculum books you would like to use. You get to choose if you instead would like to use online resources, and there's plenty. You get to decide if you're going to utilize library resources. How about you create your own curriculum? Okay, maybe there's things that you have an interest in that you would like to share with your child. Whatever that topic or subject is, you can create that curriculum. Now, how to create curriculum, that's another workshop, which I will have. You get to choose if you would like to utilize YouTube, Netflix, videos, auntie, uncle, dad, maybe granddad or dad is building a shed. That could become part of your child's curriculum or studies if they help dad or granddad build that shed, okay? Tutors, cousins. You as the home educator have the freedom to utilize any and all of these, or one of these, or as many as you're like, in your child in homeschooling, okay? So together, we'll set sail on the voyage of goal setting, charting a course for academic success and personal growth, all right? So these are the things you want to know as you Maybe your child does well to homeschool in the mornings or in the afternoon. Maybe you work and you want to figure out, how can I work and school my child? So depending on your schedule, maybe you're off and not working on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So you will not work, but you will school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but maybe you will not have school with your child on Thursday, Friday. Okay, maybe you want to do Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Maybe you don't work and just certain days work best for you. The idea is that you get to choose how your day-to-day schedule of schooling will work. Now, again, I'm going to give you the details of option 3 in just a moment. Another thing to keep in mind as you create the schedule, the resources you're going to use, what your day can look like, the important things as far as this is concerned, you're going to follow the South Carolina standards. Well, I should say it like this. You have the freedom to follow the South Carolina standards of education. What they, meaning they, the Department of Education in the state, will say that students should learn in kindergarten, what they should know in first grade, second grade, etc. You can follow that or not. You can also choose to follow another state's standard of learning, okay? When I started, and I didn't fully introduce myself, so I'll go back and do that in just a moment. When I started homeschooling in the year 2000, I was in Virginia, and I followed the Virginia standards of academic learning, okay? You get to choose. Find out which state in the country has the best academic report card for their students, and then follow their standards of learning if you need that guidance. Or you can choose to unschool. Unschooling is where you allow your student to follow their interests. What is their interest? Let them chart the course, okay? And maybe that means that day to day, it looks totally different depending on what they're interested in learning for that day, okay? So let me again go back, and I want you to picture a homeschooling schedule like a well-orchestrated dance, blending learning, playing, depending on the age of your child, exploration, things that they're interested in, and then any other, the option 3 required courses that are there. And I'm going to explain that, okay? So again, as you are the home educator steering your child's academics, okay, and their learning, you do get to choose which day, how many hours of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, maybe from day to day, it changes. Ensure your child learns what you desire to ensure that they learn. Maybe understanding artificial intelligence, AI is important. Include that in their schooling. Maybe understanding cryptocurrency is important to you. Make sure they are learning those things. Maybe things of your faith or your culture. Include those in their academics and their learning. Make sure they're there, okay? All right, very good. Now, before we go into this next part 4, preparing your homeschooling environment, let me back up. I gave you a brief description of myself, just a small bio, just saying who I am, but I have been a homeschooling mom since the year 2000. I have 8 children, so that is 23 years of homeschooling. 4 of my children are already graduated. They went all the way through homeschooling and they've graduated out of homeschooling. And I have 4 children left who are now, they're still being homeschooled. 4 done, 4 still homeschooling, and they will graduate through homeschooling. So this has been a long journey, 23 years of home education. I have about 4 or 5 more to go. My youngest one is 12. Okay, you said 4 or 5? Yeah. And that's because often my kids are graduated at 15 and 16 years old. That's a whole nother workshop. How do I do that? So I'll tell you about that. But also for the last 10 years, I have been an option 3 homeschool owner, option 3 homeschool owner and director here in the state of South Carolina. So I have members all over the state. Again, I'm going to break down option 3 to you. So hold on. We're going to go through the law, make sure you understand it completely. Okay. So that's a little bit about myself. Now, let's go ahead to point number 4, preparing your homeschooling environment. Where to homeschool, how to homeschool, when to homeschool, okay? So here, just I want you to keep in mind that you do not need to create public homeschooling. The beauty is that you get to create the space, what that looks like. You can have a dedicated space in your home where every day you're sit at your kitchen table. I started that when I first started schooling. We sat at the kitchen table, and then we moved and we had a bonus room. So that became our school room. And then my kids, they wanted to, Mom, can I go in my room and study? So then we allowed our entire home to be the school room, the schooling place. Some in the den, some in the bonus rooms, some in their bedrooms. Oftentimes they went to their bedrooms, they had their own desk or space, depending on what they were doing. They used a desk, or they laid on the bed, or they were on the floor, or they built a tent and they were in the tent, a few times under the bed, so you get to choose where, if there's going to be a dedicated space, the entire home, go to the library, go to a park. We did those things. Will you teach? Will you yourself be the teacher? Depending on their age, you don't have to, okay? The idea in homeschooling, here's a nugget, is to teach your children to love, or help them develop the love of learning, and become a self-teacher where they teach themselves. You want to work yourself out of a job, okay? You want to work yourself out of the role of the home educator. When they're young, you're giving them direction and guidance and some instruction. But as you go on, give them freedom to be able to understand and teach and learn. By the time my kids are in high school, they're teaching themselves all of their subjects, or I am sourcing out chemistry to someone else to teach them, or any subjects that I didn't want to teach or didn't feel strong in teaching, okay? Others that I felt strong in and I enjoyed and I really loved, those are the subjects I taught, okay? There you go. They can learn on their own. Maybe you use the online resources. You can create the right timing that's for you, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to break down option 3 in a moment so you can know, well, how long is the right time, okay? Just remember that the whole world is your school room. Become world schoolers, travel in school. Go to the museum, that's a school day. I've taken my kids when they were little to Whole Foods, and we looked at all the different vegetables and fruits, and we learned from that. So imagine that preparing your environment is imagining that anywhere you want to be is schooling, okay? Now, let's number 5, navigating South Carolina state requirements. Here's the rub of the understanding. If you're in South Carolina, every state has different homeschooling laws. So if you're in a different state and you're listening to this, just know every state has different individual homeschool laws. You need to learn those by Googling, your state and the homeschool laws for your state. Go to your Department of Education and see what they have to say about homeschooling and homeschooling laws. All right, let's talk about South Carolina laws. In the state of South Carolina, there are 3 options in which you can homeschool under. Option 1 is unique in that it's connected to public school. You're doing public schooling in your home. You've gotten permission from the school board, you completed that paperwork, and you actually have teachers, public school teachers, online teaching your student, or in some cases, the public school student teacher comes into the home to educate your child. That's number 1. They have such laws, and I won't go through all of them, but they do have a required number of hours a day. Okay, as of this recording, 4.5. The parent or legal guardian has to have a GED, high school diploma, or higher. Okay, so there are some specifics under option 1. I'm not going to talk about that because we're focused on option 3. Option 2 is under an organization called SCAES. That's the acronym, South Carolina Association of Independent Homeschoolers. Okay, and when homeschooling first became legal in the state of South Carolina, everyone went under option 2 if they were not connected to option 1. Option 2 is much like option 1 in that they have a certain requirement of hours a day. They also require certain expectations of the parent and legal guardian, as I mentioned before, have a GED, high school diploma, or higher. They have to approve the curriculum. They also have to see some paperwork and record keeping that you have to maintain. Some other things in place too, but that's option 2. Many families felt that it was a little bit strict for them. And so many did not want to be under option 2. Many still are under option 2 because they like the accountability. They like the resources that option 2 SCAES has. They like the support that they may receive, and they like to have to test their child, yearly or every 3 years or however that is, to ensure that they're on the standard level of Department of Education. Option 2. But let's talk about option 3. Let's read the law, okay? So section 596547, which is option 3, Associations of Homeschools Requirements, option 3. So in lieu of the requirements of section 596540, which is option 1, or section 596545, which is option 2, in lieu of, parents or guardians may teach their children at home if the instruction is conducted under the auspices of an option 3, under the auspices of an association for homeschools, which has no fewer than 50 members and meets the requirements of this section. What is this section? Option 3. So first thing, the parent or legal guardian can teach. So you can't have auntie sign up to then to have option 3 legal status to teach your children. You, the parent, have to meet these requirements in order for your child to be educated under option 3, number 1. Number 2, you have to join an option 3 accountability association that has no fewer than 50 members. So since I am doing this, I am welcoming you all a united community of Homeschoolers Unlimited, okay? So I am an option 3, as I mentioned before. I've been homeschooling for operating this option 3 association for 10 years. I have members all over the state. And as of this recording, 600 members is the goal. Okay, I'm almost there, 600. So I meet the requirement of at least having 50 members. Okay, so those are the number 1, parent or legal guardian. Number 2, join an association that has 50 members or more. Okay, next it says bona fide members. I'm going to put, hi, welcome into the meeting. So it says bona fide membership and continuing compliance with the academic standards of the associations exempts the homeschool from the further requirements of section 596540 or section 596545. So what that basically is saying, once you join an option 3 homeschool association, you're no longer required to follow the legalities or the regulations of option 1, nor option 2. All right, let's dive deeper into what option 3 is. Continuing, the State Department of Education shall conduct annually a review of association standards to ensure that requirements of the association at a minimum include. So the next thing is, as an option 3 association director and owner, I am connected to the Department of Education. They don't approve me, but they just ensure that I am going to make sure my members understand the option 3 law. Here it is. Number 1, a parent must hold at least a high school diploma or the equivalent of a general education development or GED certificate. So they can have a GED, a high school diploma, or higher, okay? B, the instructional year is at least 180 days. So you have to have 180 days in your school year, your homeschool year. All right, you can start that homeschool year in July, you can start it in October, you can start it in December, whenever you want to start your schooling year. Whenever you do, it has to have at least 180 days before you can say, I'm done. Sick days do not count, and vacation days do not count if it's not educational based. So if you go to Arizona and you're going to the Grand Canyon, that's a learning opportunity. That's a school day. So if you do that on your entire 2 weeks of vacation, that's 2 weeks of schooling because you went on vacation, you took that time to learn about the Grand Canyon and all of that, okay? So 180 days in your schooling day. Number C, the curriculum includes, but is not limited to, the basic instructional areas of reading, writing, math, studies. And in grades 7 through 12, that reading and writing changes. It now will become composition and literature, okay? But as I mentioned before, the curriculum, you have the freedom to use books curriculum, you can create your curriculum, you can use online resource as your curriculum, YouTube, Netflix, auntie, uncle, you can create your own curriculum. That's up to you as the home educator. Isn't that cool? You get to choose. So at any time you have questions, please just jot them down. And at the end, we are going to have a Q&A where you can ask questions, type it in the chat room on the Facebook page. I'll get back to there and see any questions that are there, okay? Next, this is option 3 law that we're going through, word for word. D, educational records shall be maintained by the parent teacher, okay? So you have some records you have to maintain and keep, all right? There are four things that I always tell my members. 1, a plan book, a diary, or other record keeping indicating subjects taught and activities in which the student and parent were engaged in. Just day to day, what did you do today? On Friday, June 16, 2023, we studied math, pages 5 through 10. If you don't use a book, then you can say he completed Khan Academy math, and he studied fractions, dividing, reducing, multiplying fractions. Just that simple, exactly what you've done, okay? All right, next thing you have, record keeping you have to keep. You have to maintain a portfolio of samples of the student's academic work, okay? A sample of the student's academic work. It doesn't say how many pages or anything like that. It doesn't say how much needs to be in this portfolio with samples. I tell my members, 3 or 4 of their best work from science, each of the subjects, just the 3 or 4. Keep a 3-ring binder, an envelope, 3-ring binder, envelope, manila folder. If you prefer to keep it digitally, take a picture of it and load it up onto your computer to keep, okay? Number 3, a semi-annual progress report. So again, this is record keeping that you, the parent teacher, have to maintain in your homeschool year. Homeschool year is 180 days. So number 3, a semi-annual progress report, including attendance records, and individualized documentation of the student's academic progress, okay? So a progress report, semi-annual, twice a year is what that means. I tell my members, you don't have to do this, but just as an example, once you reach 90 days, is a great time to write your semi-annual progress report. You're going to do that for what did the student, how well did they do? If they had some challenges, okay, what will you do to help with those challenges in that subject? If they did well, great, say how well they did, and then what will you do since they did well? We may move on to the next level of social studies or history. If they had some challenges, then maybe you consider getting a tutor or just reviewing back over that information. Okay, let's continue. And then the last part of the law says by January 30th, this is more so for the option 3 director, but by January 30th of each year, all associations shall report the number and grade level of children homeschooled through the association to the children's respective school district. So every year I have to create reports and I send it to every superintendent in the state of South Carolina. There's hundreds, okay? And what I'm providing them is not the student's name, not even their initials. I am saying, for example, Spartanburg 1, I have 20 kindergartners, 30 first graders, 22 third graders, and I'm telling them how many students I have in their district and each grade level. And I do that for every district in the state. That's my responsibility. I have to do every year by January 30th, nothing the parent has to do. So let's go through this and clarify what the option 3 is not saying. It does not say how many hours a day you have to school. It doesn't say. As a home educator, as a parent, I say, just give a rule of thumb. What I've learned over the 23 years is that an hour and a half is plenty of time for a kindergartner for their schoolwork, okay? An hour and a half. And then each grade level, add 15 minutes. So your first grader, their school day can be an hour and 45 minutes. Second grader, 2 hours. Third grader, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And you say, Angela, what? That's all? That's just rule of thumb. You don't have to follow it, but that's plenty of time for kindergarten, an hour and 30 minutes to do academic focused studies. And then you say, well, what do they do with the rest of their day? Because if they were in public school, they would be there all day. So what do they do? Let them have fun being a child and learn, draw, do puzzles, just have fun. But for academic focused stuff, that's just a rule of thumb. What the law is not saying is that what days of the week you have to school. Okay, it doesn't say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, start at 7 o'clock, end at 3. Nope. So again, as I mentioned before, you have the freedom to create the schedule that works with your life. Okay. If you are late, you're not a morning person and you start your day better later, and your student really is not aware and ready to go until after lunch, then start after lunch. Start whenever that works for you. Okay. All right. So those are the things I want to make sure you know that the law is not saying. Number 6, practical tips for successful homeschooling. This is our section 6. And then we have our last section, which is Q&A. So practical tips for successful homeschooling. I like to tell my families, really have a balance between structure and flexibility. It's good to have some idea of what you're going to do for the day, but be flexible because, again, you want to work with your child's interests and their, what interests them and their needs. But, option 3 law does require math, science, social studies, reading and writing, 7th to 12th grade, literature and composition. It doesn't say those subjects have to be done every day. Nope. The law does not say those subjects have to be done every day, but they have to be at least touched upon within that 180 day. Okay. All right. Next, do what you can do to encourage learning, spark that interest, really let them ask questions. And then if you all, Mom, how does the leaves turn brown and fall? Okay, yeah, let's stop and research that and learn about that. That's a school day documented of science, okay? Ignite the spark of curiosity within your child, fostering a lifelong love for learning that goes far beyond the confines of homeschooling or traditional schooling. Okay, master the art of time management, carving out moments of exploration, discovery, and academic milestones, all while maintaining harmony in your homeschooling journey. Remember, homeschooling is not a solitary adventure, okay? So look for opportunities to connect with other homeschooling families, socialize, connect, get involved in clubs, plan play dates, field trips, and invite others to come. Find those extra curricular activities. Even though you're homeschooling, your child still can be involved in public school sports and clubs and ROTC, and maybe some classes depending on the school, okay? All right, very good. So those are some practical tips. The main thing I would say is flexibility. Be flexible, be creative. Your homeschooling is limited only by your creativity, okay? By your creativity. It can be as creative and colorful and beautiful and fun and unique as you can make it, all right? Be flexible, no stressing, and relax. And the last point I would just say, enjoy the journey. And if you find that you're not enjoying your journey, please contact me and ask me questions. Ask for help. Ask for guidance. All right, very good. Now, let's get to some Q&A. This is the last part. There we go. We've had 30 minutes of our, 33 minutes of our workshop. So now for Q&A, what questions do you have? I'm going to go to the Facebook and see if anyone has posted any questions they want to understand, know, or what have you. So let's see. If those who are on Zoom, if you have questions, unmute yourself and let's ask your questions. Any questions at all? Or maybe you're trying to figure out how to unmute yourself. All right, I'll give you a moment to unmute yourself. I'm checking on Facebook to see if there's any questions from anyone there. I don't see any here yet. Okay. Well,
Hi,
I'll
Angela.
take just. Oh, hi, coming in. Yes.
Hi, this is Kenya. So I've been homeschooling for, my oldest kid, he's in 7th grade, just started 7th grade, or is about to start 7th grade. And I was wondering about maybe starting the journey of unschooling, and how can you incorporate the 5 subjects that you're required to teach by law, and unschool your kids. I don't know, it's like out of my, I can understand it, but I would like to try something like that, like go by what they're interested in, but still cover those subjects. Like, how do you do that?
Absolutely, yes. So Kenya is asking about unschooling. And I mentioned that just a little bit at the beginning, what this idea is, a terminology of unschooling. And this is where the child is, another word for it's called child-led learning, where you follow their interests and just follow that way. So Kenya, the way that works is just the creativity of you paying attention. So for example, this is the easier one that people most will use. You're baking and you're working on baking a cake, and you have to deal with measurements and how many of this or how many cups of this, or you have to cook it for 30 minutes and blah, blah. That's an element of math, and you can write that down as math for the day. Okay. Now they have to read ingredients. Maybe they wanted to, they're studying, I don't know, I'm thinking about reading. So if they are doing creative reading, or they're doing writing a story, they love to write. I'm going to put you on mute just a moment, but come back in as well. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So if reading anime, they are enjoying and loving anime. Okay. And they just themselves, that interest takes. And I did unschooling with my children, Kenya, strict unschooling for the first 3 or 4 months. All they wanted to do, again, you're being led by their interests. So for the first 3 months or so, they only wanted to play chess every day, all day. Fine, play chess. And so that's what we recorded as chess, competition, creative thinking, all of these things. I had to become creative to say what is going on in this learning and what. After 3 months, and many people who hear unschooling may say, what? Your children had, their schooling was chess for 3 months? Yep, everyday chess. And they became masters of chess. And if you all know chess, you know all the mental work that goes on in chess, right? And then it went to my one child, became interested in origami. And now he's making origami, and he wanted to get books from the library on origami. I think also we got books from the library on chess, and they were learning strategy. So that's reading, critical thinking, an elective. I created some electives out of that too. And then origami, went for one for origami. Another one, she got into fashion design, and she was looking up things about fashion design. So the way you do it, again, I don't know if you were in here at the beginning, Kenya, is that the option 3 law does not say all of those 5 subjects have to be every day. Math, science, social studies, reading, and writing has to be done every day. Nope. It doesn't give a number, a quantitative amount of time that has to be dedicated to each subject. You just have to touch on those subjects within the school year. Okay. Now, say my children like, and I think we did have this conversation. Who created chess and where did it come from? At that time, a movie came out about this little girl who was interested in chess. I think she was from Africa, and she became awesome. So we looked at that movie. We did some research on who created chess. Okay, all of that was now social studies. They dove in deeper with that. So it's just your creativity to see and observe what they did for the day, or what their interest led them for the day, and document that. It may be 3 months of chess, and then it may then be 3 months of wanting to know about all the animals that are in the Sahara Desert, or all the animals that they find, know to be in the jungle, or what have you. Then you study that science and creatively think of other things to pull from that. If you require them to write you 10 facts, this is what I do in our unschooling. Write me 10 facts about what you researched. We call it Unschooling Fridays, but for a couple of years, we did strict unschooling, all unschooling, okay? But now we have a little bit of structure as they're older. Maybe there's some books and some online, but a lot of research. History we do on YouTube. They get to research what history they're interested in learning about, who it is they want to learn about. And they have to write me 10 facts. That's writing. Write me a paper about whatever those things that they're interested in, to write it. So does that make sense, Kenya?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Do you have more questions? Anything else? Anyone else have more questions? Ask me right away.
Oh, the samples of the schoolwork that we have to keep for them every year. How much of the writing or how much of the math, like how many sheets? Because I have so much, and I'm like,
I understand. So Kenya is asking, remember I mentioned about the portfolio, you have to keep samples of their work. And one of the things I mentioned is that the option 3 law does not say how much. It doesn't even give an indication. So I tell my members 3 or 4 samples of their best work from each subject is sufficient. For the last, up until just 3 years ago, I kept all of their work from kindergarten. And now, remember I said you have 8 children. So the 4 older ones graduated from homeschool. So when the 4th one graduated, this is when I stopped keeping so much stuff, because it becomes a lot. But I was keeping all of their work, and I had bins. In the basement was bins and bins and bins of each of their work. Now the younger 4, I don't do that. I really just keep a lot of things on Google Classroom, or just they have some samples in their notebooks of their work. So manila folder, 3-ring binder, what have you, just a few samples to show their best work from each subject. Each child should have that. Okay. Does that make sense, Kenya?
Yes.
Yeah, so and every association may be different, but for my association, I don't have those regulations. Why? Because the option 3 law does not provide those regulations. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, yep. Any more questions from you? I think I was looking through Facebook. Any more questions from you, Kenya? You have
Yes, I do have. I think I have a last one.
yeah,
In regards to keeping a journal of what you're teaching every day. So I was being very particular. Like I made little calendars on Excel, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like let's say Monday through Friday. Then I have each subject on the left side, and then I write down like what we do. When it comes to unschooling, I guess I can just plug in, what they're doing for that specific subject. But I feel like maybe I'll have some blanks in between, but like maybe I'm not doing some subjects some days. I mean, that's still acceptable, correct? As long as I'm teaching the subjects that I'm required to.
Yep. You can have some blank days where only, for example, in our homeschooling, I have subjects for a period of months until we're done. So one semester, and I have like maybe 3 semesters, I just break it down that way. That's our homeschooling. So math, we just started math. So the beginning of the year, we did our grammar. I can't remember all the subjects, but for example, it was just 3 subjects we only focused on. And I had them scheduled for certain days out. We didn't do grammar anymore because we did sufficient enough that I wanted for them for the year. And we switched up to life skills, stocks and something, all around financial stuff, economics, civics. We did this for a period of time. And now we just got into math. I wanted to have math on a subject all by itself, no focus of any other subjects, and we'll do math until then. So yeah, it'll look like holes, but you don't have the law. Option 3 law doesn't say every day those subjects. It just lists those subjects. It tells you 180 days, but what that's saying is that you have that freedom to create the schedule.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I want to bring you all to the attention of www.auchu.org. If you all would write that down, even if you're watching this on replay, go to my website. I have a plethora of information there. More workshops are coming. Digital libraries available to all members, which has courses, just unique courses that you won't find in homeschooling in general, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, metaphysics, or mindfulness, or all these different subjects that will be there, but those are for members of UCHU. So look through my association. Every association is different in the state. And some of them have law, regulations and requirements that are outside of option 3 law. And then you have to decide, do I want to do that? Do I want to report my paperwork to this association? Do I want them to approve my curriculum? Do I want them, you have to do your due diligence to shop around, okay? So I invite you all to visit my association that I've now had for 10 years, thousands of members I've had over the years and graduated, tons of families and their students, Palmetto Fellows, recipients, scholarship recipients who many have gone to college, many have become workers, so that has been my background. So I welcome you to take a look. And if you have more questions, then feel free to email me. I didn't put that up there. So my email is AUCHU, third option, spell out third option @gmail.com. AUCHU@gmail.com. Send me a question. You can do the same thing through the website. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can schedule a 15-minute session to do so. The link for that virtual calendar is on my website as well. Okay, so I pray this has been very, very, very informative to you. And again, this session has been this workshop being in regards to getting started in option 3 homeschooling. This has been Embrace Your Child's Educational Future, Exploring Option 3 Homeschooling in South Carolina. So thank you for attending. I love to hear from you. Reach out with questions and clarity. Let me see one other thing. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. This session was very, very helpful. You are welcome. Kenya, thanks for showing up. Thank you for all the Facebook and YouTube viewers, and also those who are blessings. Take care.